series. And great honor to have our Consul General Sir and also a very, very special guest, none other than our beloved Amal Mukhopadhyay ji or Amal ji. So I think it's been some time. We actually wanted him to be on board, but we finally could actually find the right time. And also, he had time and he very kindly accepted our invitation from the Consul General to be part of this Wednesday Dialogue series. And also a big thanks to every one of you who are regularly watching and supporting the Wednesday Dialogue series, either being live or at least following the YouTube recording after the event is over. And thanks very much for that also to Parminder Bhai, who has been working on the social media and to making it before the event is starting, but also after the event is done, being updating and making sure. Thanks very much for that. Also, the technical support as well. And big thanks also to Arunaji to get in touch with the experts and brief little bit, because she is an encyclopedia herself in the consulate. So none other than knows so much about the personalities of, let's say, decades or more decades who have been in part of the North Germany, at least for sure. She has her own informations and knowing them, so it helps a lot on that front as well. Not in taking much of the time, let me invite our Consul General Sir very warmly to the event. Thanks very much for being here. And as the tradition goes, sir, the floor is yours. Please open the series for today, please.
Yeah, namaskar everybody, and thank you, Bala. Today we are really privileged to have Dr. Amal Mukhopadhyay as a special guest for this Wednesday dialogue. He's a scientist and entrepreneur in the areas of healthcare, pharmaceuticals, biology, biotechnology, and he has long-standing experience in business development, in directing research and development work, and corporate leadership. He is a highly distinguished individual with over 100 publications, several books, and patents to his credit, and over 3 decades of experience in managing projects in basic research as well as in applied research, partly in cooperation with pharmaceutical companies, which have made him a very widely respected scientist and entrepreneur. We are really privileged and very happy to have you here, sir. And with Dr. Bala Ramani, another distinguished individual who has been anchoring this show for us since the beginning. I think I can assure you that we are in very good hands for this evening. And I, for one, look forward to a great interaction today evening. So with those, thank you very much once again, Bala. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir, for that. And I sincerely try my very best. And thanks for the support from everyone. Amalji, a very great welcome to you and a very warm evening. Thanks very much for being part of it, taking out your time. And it's not something like that. I know that as CG sir has very promptly put that you are wearing different hats. So we are trying today to really understand what are these hats and how did it come about and how you are juggling your hats and keeping it still afloat for the last 3-4 decades. And that's something I think it's going to be very interesting because I have many things that I would like to know, and I'm pretty sure that's going to give many others also. And there are many people whom you know, which always makes this series something different, unique, and special, that those who know you well shares their special relationship with you, their anecdotes with you. And I think that's also makes it special, because those are the things you will never get to know directly if one-to-one we are going to speak about. So I very much encourage the ladies and gentlemen out there who know Amalji very well and having a special rapport, friendship, and family, many things. Please do speak about also in different part of this session about how you get to know what is that specialty you know from Amalji and his special anecdotes, the way he looks at it. So I don't want to go into too much because that's exactly part of it, Amalji. The first, as I spoke to you, we have a three different blocks. We try to keep it,
Yeah.
and there are many hats you are wearing, but I'll pick up three important hats. For example, first, as a scientist, primarily, because once a scientist remains always a scientist. So that's something that's always there. And then you have created a platform to bring the science to the public, but also to the larger scientific community through your Hanseatic Indian Colloquium and India Week. And the third part would be the NGO, which is also something you do a lot in terms of Hanseatic India Forum and your work in India. So I would like to broadly look into the three aspects mainly. Um, let's start very early. You are awarded the DAD, German Academic Exchange Service Fellow as well. It's a distinguished fellow, even that point of time. And even before that, Banaras Hindu University, let me start from there. And you can, before you go into that, you can speak about little bit about your childhood, your early days, where you come from, those things always is interesting for every one of us to look back into it. But after that part, Banaras Hindu University, we all know, one of the very traditional, old, and very respected institutions of India. Also, tell a little bit on that as well. But first, please help us understand where Amalji is coming from.
Okay. First of all, let me start by saying how honored and how happy I feel today to be at this podium. This has been created and nurtured by the Consulate General of India in Hamburg. A few weeks ago, during a meeting at the Consul General's office, the Consul General asked me if I would agree to participate at this podium. I was really surprised, as I know that all my predecessors who have participated are really stalwarts. Like today's moderator, Bala, who missed out to be a top cricketer, but had made tremendous contribution socially and politically in Germany. I am, comparatively speaking, almost a nobody. But since our Consul General is such a nice person who automatically garners respect, I could not refuse him. And so I'm here today. So I thank him, the Consul General, and I thank Bala for having me here. I also thank the other participants who have joined in today from far and near. Maybe for some people, it's quite late at night. I have attended personally several sessions, but mostly I looked up the episodes, in YouTube, and I find this is such an useful podium, especially for the younger generation, particularly the diaspora and their second generation. For them, or the new diasporas who are coming in, for them, it is a learning experience from these discussions how to generate a successful organization and how to build up a professional career in politics, science, photography, music, etc. And that too, being a diaspora in a foreign land. So I think that this has been an excellent initiative from the consulate. And I thank all concerned in the consulate to make it such a successful podium. Thank you for that. Now, since Bala asked me to say something about my early days, maybe I can start with one statement of mine, which I have always believed to be true, and I respect that statement so much, that I have total faith in science, society, and service. 3S. That has guided my life so far. And the service is service for humanity. Even in my childhood, science was my first love. I can tell you an episode where my father, who himself was a chemist, a sugar technologist, and we lived in Calcutta. I was in school in Calcutta, and my father, for a while, he was also a teacher. Mostly he was with the industry, but at that period of time, he had taken off from the industry and he was at home and he was doing some teaching uh, uh, in the school, and he was teaching chemistry. But he himself loved economics and he wanted me to study economics. And for me, the economics turned out to be a very tough subject which I didn't understand. Yeah. And that my father's expectation was later on made true by my elder son, who studied economics and who was in the London School of Economics to complete his studies. But I had difficulty in economics. What I was doing, I was looking at his chemistry books, which he brought home as a teacher, and I was doing my experiments from those chemistry books. And he noticed that, like, even I created my bar of soap in a class 9 student, and then even produced my own oxygen in small homeopathy bottles. So I was so keen. And then when he saw all that, then he decided that no, his subject must be changed. Then he took me away from economics and put me on the science track. And I never looked back. I stayed there with the science. So I did my higher secondary. Actually, somehow, by the time I passed my school, I was too young to join a medical college or engineering college. I was actually 14 at that time. But then we moved to Pune because my father then left the school job and went back to the industry again. So we went to Maharashtra, and I joined University of Pune to do my graduations and masters. And that was a very, very interesting phase of my life, because there I got really interested in the subject of biochemistry. One of our teachers who really molded my life later on, Professor John Barnabas, he was the head of the Department of Biochemistry, and he also received Bhatnagar Award as a young scientist. And of course, unfortunately, died very young. So from there, I learned biochemistry and how the life is controlled by chemical reactions, how cell functions are all translated by chemical reactions. So that was fascinating. And then I came to Benares Hindu University. And as Bala just said, it's a very...
Amalji, just before we go into BHU, just out of curiosity, science, society and service, as you clearly defined from the beginning. How did it come about? Was it also something, because you said your father is also from the chemistry background, so is that something your father brought, or during your school days, science is something that some of the teachers or their school friends, or how this connection between that you want to take science to the society or the truth to the society? What was that? Is that at a very early stage it came to you, or how was it?
Yeah, this is really very early stage, because when I was doing the experiments at home and producing, using this, looking at the chemical reactions, at that time I was about 11. And I found that these books, actually I used to read a lot of books, and some of our relatives, they were working in the book publishing houses. So he would come and give me sometimes specimen books, which he would be giving to schools. So I was always supplied with books from different subjects, but the science subjects really attracted me so much, and especially the chemistry. That's been from very early childhood. Maybe it's because of my father's chemical background, could be a big influence. And also when, he will discuss with me a few things, and then he will always explain how plants breathe, how the plants grow up, even such things. So that always gave me a lot of interest in knowing more.
So let's put it this way. Do you have a role model? Do you have somebody who you see as a scientist who has been always for you, even at the very early stage in your school days?
In the school days, not really. There I had to really myself groom properly. Later on, of course, our chemistry teacher, for example, again, and the physics teachers, they were such excellent teachers in the school that I have not forgotten how that interesting their classes were. That's true. But then as a role model later on was for me, Professor John Barnabas, who unfortunately died very young. But, he loved the students so much. I can tell you sometimes, we would start experiment, which will go on till the morning. And if the temperature was high, the experiment will finish out a little quicker, earlier. And we, in the hostel, we did not sleep properly. We were worried that our experiment will be finishing early, but still we did not get up early enough. Now, the professor went to the lab and saw the experiment is almost over and we have not come. So he ran to the hostel, woke us up, and really gave us thrashings that we did not go to the lab. So he was very angry with us, and everything is over. Then he took us all to his home, gave us a nice breakfast because we got up early. We had to go to the lab and didn't have our breakfast. So he was very angry with us, but then took us to his home, gave us breakfast, sumptuous, made us happy. So, such a person who felt for each of his students, as well as he felt very much about the experiments which was being done. John Barnabas was really somebody whom I respect even till today.
Right. So you are about to start speaking. So tell about BHU, because we all know it's an institute. Many of probably have not visited, but that still we all know Banaras Hindu University. We have heard at least, and it has its own tradition and history, and it's charming as well. How is it? Give us. Can you bring it to our, let's say, to our eyes, how it looks like, or at least during your time?
During our time, yes. Of course, it's the Mahamanaji's creation, Madan Mohan Malviya, who created this with a tremendous vision. And the city at that time, at least when I was there, was really beautiful. It had its problem, always, as always, but the Ganges was much cleaner. The city was not so clean, but still livable. And we lived mostly in the university area. And the university area was created by donation of several villages. So it's a very big area and completely surrounded by a wall, perimeter wall, and colleges, sports ground, hostels, even shops, even the schools, and staff quarters, professors' quarters. They were all inside. It also had its own hospital inside. So theoretically, it was a town within a town. And that town, there we could spend our all time inside that area. Coming to the city was a little different. And inside the perimeter, the university city, that is absolutely green, beautifully, the architecture was beautiful, and the road, everything clean, spick and span. Outside the gate, it was a little different, with a lot of population. And there inside, we had everything there, engineering college, even medical college, and arts, fine arts, science, everything inside. And I was with the Institute of Medical Sciences there. And I was very lucky to have a professor who has just returned from the USA. He spent his life on, his US life with a person who was a Nobel laureate, Severo Ochoa, a very well-known name at that time, who explained how DNA RNA works. And on his work on the RNA, he received the Nobel Prize. And professor with whom I was working in Benares, he came from this well-known US lab. So it was again, just like John Barnabas, here also, and this Professor D.P. Burma was his name, Devi Prasad Burma. Many Indian friends of mine know his name. Of course, he is also not alive anymore. So we had a great time there together. And of course, many times our experiment will not work. Then it was always for me to go out of the lab and sit near the river ghat. Sitting at the ghat, looking at the flowing Ganges can calm you down and take away all the worries, all the tensions which we had in the lab. So that was for me, being at the Ganges, great. And that time, Bala, as you said, the society and service, we used to be offering our voluntary service to people. Many people would die because our hospital was also attached. So some people will die and there will be nobody to take them to the ghats for the burning, for the cremation. So we were always on the list where people could knock our door and say, please go now, late at night, doesn't matter, because we were in the hostel, student. So we made this always that we will help those bodies to be cremated. If we get a call, we will go and do that. So that part of the service was instilled by seeing others doing the same thing. And then sometimes staying at the hospital who has nobody to help them. Then if somebody comes and tells us that, please, this person has been admitted in the hospital, there's nobody to look after. We have always nurses and so on, but the nurses number not enough. So there's always somebody required to look after. Then we would go and spend the time with that patient. So that instilled a feeling of service to the humanity, that we have to help others.
I think you have touched upon a very raw nerve here, I would say. I think, how was it? You are doing a PhD and you are collective students, and then, doing this such a noble service. I'm really hats off to you. This is something I really was not aware of it exactly. I think this is something is probably the very special thing. Helping or supporting during one's life is also as much important, but actually doing that last rites for those who are not there, at least to us, is something very, very special and very needy. How was it like that? What was that going on in your mind or your collective students? And still, do you think about that sometime, those days?
Yeah. In fact, what I can still remember, I can see sometimes the last minutes of the persons who are passing off. And they have been all different, because sometimes, we will be called that this person is very sick and something can happen. So we will arrange everything and we'll wait for the night, wait at the night, because we see at that time, going from hostel to somebody's house was not easy, especially at night. So what we would do, we would stay there, wait till the last minutes have come, and after that we'll take care of the action. So there I remember still about a lady who was very sick, and we had curfew in the city. So few of us came to that house and we were waiting. We were told that something may happen that night. So maybe our help will be needed. A very elderly person, his wife and daughter. They only had one daughter, unmarried. So they needed men who would carry the body to the ghat. So we were there. And I could see how that last minute played out. It was very early morning, sun was rising, light was coming through the window, and she was complaining, the patient was saying that, please turn on the light, it is so dark, it is so dark. The daughter turned on the light, but there was no electricity. Then said that, sorry, there's no electricity, but open the window, there is light outside. Mama, there is light outside. Then she said, no, it's dark. And then, of course, she stopped protesting. And then she showed in the direction of the feet of the husband, who was sitting also on the bed. And she put her head on the feet of her husband, and immediately the body shuddered and became still. And this was like a slow motion movie. And if you see all that, you understand the real meaning of life, what it means. The only truth in the world is the death. And when you are faced with that truth, you see that, you know everything else is unimportant.
And also people realized when that time has come.
Yes.
I think this is also not
Yeah.
is not ready for everyone, I would say.
Yeah.
Sir, this is something you have already started with a very touching note. I think philosophically, I think we should do a special episode, exactly that point, what you said, but we will do it for sure. Let's go into it a little bit, because we want to know how from BHU you took to Germany. What was the story about it, and how did you get to that idea? Who was there for you to, brought the idea, and how was that preparation and to find the lab, and how all those things? Can you just give us a brief on that?
Yes, actually, I had no plan really to come to Germany, because from our laboratory, we had strong connection with the American scientists. They used to visit us. And all our research students, after finishing their job, they moved over to USA to work. So that was kind of automatic situation for all of us, doing the PhD work in that lab. So we always knew that we'll be going over to USA. In fact, I was almost ready to move over to California. I had my visa, everything was done to do a very exciting project there. But of course, my father, he suffered from a heart cardiac arrest, and he managed to survive. And those days, the cardiac arrest, nothing, now there was no stent, no bypass. There was some nitrate given, and that's all. You couldn't have done much. So I did not go abroad. I stayed back and to see that he is in good hands and taken care of. And I had, of course, joined the university as a professor already there in the faculty. Got married to my wife, and she was connected to me through another professor of biochemistry who came to take an examination in our university. And he saw that, oh, this young man is moving around, so he could be the right man for the daughter of my neighbor. So he went back, the Sardarji, he went back and told them about me. And so we both agreed. And that's how I have had a very happy married life for the last 42 years. Still, she lost her battle with cancer in 1918. So after the marriage, my father was still there. Whereas my elder son, Ashish Mukherjee, was born. And after few years as a stint in the professor there in the medical college, I got the information from the university that scholarships are being offered to, sorry, this is something else has come up. Scholarships being offered to scientists for going over to Germany. And of course, by that time, I had a little bit information about Europe, and especially the cultural part of it, literature, culture, and that appealed me very much compared to USA. So if I go to Europe, maybe I also have the possibility to enjoy the culture and literature here. And therefore, I decided to apply for the fellowship. Of course, as you know, at that time in India, I was not sure because I had no connection. Usually, you would need a connection for certain things to happen. That was the understanding at that time. Things have changed a bit now. But I applied. And surprisingly, I got a call even for an interview at the German Academic Exchange Service. At that time, the idea was, in our application, we had to write what we want to do and where we want to work. So I just found out that from Hamburg University in UKA, Eppendorf Hospital, there was a professor who was working in a particular line which I liked. So I wanted to, I wrote a project fitting with that line. And so it went through, and finally at one go, actually my father finally expired also in between. And after that, I received a call to come to Germany. But the condition was that you can go to Germany, your family, your wife and the son, they must stay back in Delhi. Why? Because for, I think it was 3 months, I was admitted to Goethe Institute to learn German language, and I had to stay with a German family. So if I don't take my family, then I am all the time in a German milieu, and I have no other option to speak any other language except German. So that was the idea. So I came first, and we were about 30 scholars who left India to come to Frankfurt. And Frankfurt, we were received by the German Academic Exchange people. And then we were told that 8 of us would go to Lüneburg. So we 8 came to Lüneburg and then went to the Goethe Institute there. And the day we reached the Goethe Institute, from that minute, we could speak only German. We could not speak actually any German, but the people at Goethe Institute explained to us everything in German. We were asking questions in English, Spanish or French, there were many others, but they were replying only in German. And somehow we understood that I had to take a taxi from the Goethe Institute and go to a particular address. There will be a lady in whose house I will have my accommodation. Somehow we understood, though it was in German only. So landed there, and from that time onwards, it was only German.
Right. So that's quite interesting. I think we will move to that block of you setting up the Institute for Hormone and Fertility Research in Hamburg. Combined with that, how it came about and everything. But I wish to now open up the first slot for our audience also, and others who have heard till now about your early stage. And there are a few things which was really touching upon what you have been told about during your India time, and also who came up. I'm sure many of them know you for a long time as well, who are here, and others And yeah, your sons are also there, a great time today as well. And so I request the audience, please, if you want to share something, please do so. Or if you would like to ask anything, Amalji, at certain things that probably you want to know more on some of the points he has been speaking about in the first session, please also do so. To make it clear, if you want to, let's say, little bit structured, you can always use the, hands up sign. So then it's easier for us also to call upon. Or you can also raise your hand within the video as well. We can try to see, and then we can give us the, floor. So who would like to go ahead? Who would like to start with? We always need an icebreaker.
Maybe I can act as an icebreaker here.
Yes.
I'm the elder
yes,
son that
right.
my father was
Please go
referring
ahead.
to. So I'm curious about the following question. You've now spent so much of your time in India and in Germany, and you started your life, in fact, shortly around Indian independence, didn't you? And at the same time, I'm just comparing between your two experiences in India and Germany. Germany was just rising out of the ashes of the Second World War, out of where so many people had died, and Germany then rose to the current state that it is in currently. India came out of the ashes, out of partition. I understand that up to 2 million people died in that partition, which is almost half the number of people that have died over the recent pandemic and crisis that have taken place there. What lessons do you think India can learn from Germany or from the West, as you've traversed both cultures, in that India can apply to its society and to its governance?
It's a good question, and it's a very relevant question. Actually, I believe that since I have left India quite a while ago and have made Germany my home, maybe my comments should be considered as a biased more towards Germany. And we have problems in India, no doubt about it. And these problems did not go away after the partition. The mentality remained. Some of the hostility in the minds of the people still remain. In Germany, there has been also hate and hostility among the communities, but that has been completely or almost completely subdued. I hope that India learns from this experience and becomes more tolerant, more homogeneous, more understanding to other people's problems, other problems of communities, other families, even other human beings. And this has not happened so rapidly in India after the partition. The wounds of partition remain still there in the minds of the people, unfortunately.
Thank you, Amalji. So I am seeing the hands raised. Yes, please go ahead, sir.
So, Amol, this was really fascinating to hear these things about you, which I actually had not been aware of. I noticed that you were brilliant from the beginning. So you finished schooling at 14. So you must have started schooling at the age of 2 or 3. So tell me, how was it in the beginning? What happened that you were put to school so early, number one? Number two, how did you come? You told about the story where you were helping people who were passing away in on their last journey. How did you come to take that up? Was that something that was basically decided in a group, or what made you come up with that idea? Because that's extremely unusual to actually have such a thought.
Yeah. The first one, actually, I was born in Benares, and then my father was working. So I went over to, he was a chemist, I said a sugar technologist. So we went to Dinajpur in West Bengal, but that became Pakistan later on. now Bangladesh. And from there, I was staying with my aunts in Dhaka. Didn't go to school. And then everyone, after the partition, the partition was already there. It was Pakistan, but people were still continuing to stay. And then they thought that it is difficult to stay on anymore. They moved to Chandannagar in the West Bengal. So all the time I was moving, I was not going to any formal school. When I came to Calcutta, then I was put in class 5. I remember still, I was asked to write my name and my father's name in English. That was my test for entry. So I went into the school, and then on, it just rolled on. So that's one thing. And for the other part, for the Benares, there was already a group. You see, the Bengali students community were quite organized there. And since I was associated with the medical college, therefore the hospital, and the doctors, they all knew what was happening, who was in need. So they made this kind of, told people, can you help? Would you be able to help? So those, sometime we would not be able to go. Somebody else will go. It was like that. It's an informal organization. And of course, the Bengalis in Benares was very well organized group. They had their own school and so on. Yeah, that was in Benares.
Phenomenal. So really brilliant service. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Now we have Mr. Baduri, please.
Good evening. It's indeed a pleasure to join this session and especially talk to you. I have a question. I am from Varanasi, as you know. This Indian classical music, we specialize in Indian classical music of Banaras Gharana. Now, music is one thing which has no barriers. And lately I find that internationally from Europe, America, African countries, people have a great love for Indian classical music. So since you yourself, you are a lover of Indian classical music, I would like to know from you, how can we promote our music in Germany or in other parts of Europe?
Yes, Benares Gharana has been, actually Benares city itself has been a seat of music and culture for ages. Ravi Shankar, Samta Prasad, Kanthe Maharaj, everyone, name anyone, comes from, the origin is Benares. That is true. But what is important, what you are talking about, is the music. And even in our medical college, in my study time, we knew always that music as a healing touch on patients, sick people. Maybe Dr. Agarwal is here. He will also be able to tell something that it's known even in Europe. The music is used for helping the medical help for the patient. So it's a supplementary support. That is true. But how I think Indian music and Benares Gharana is well known in the world anyway. So there is no point. I mean, you don't need to do an effort to bring it. It's just there. At least among the Indians, definitely. And of course, Ravi Shankar has brought the music to almost any European's doorstep.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot for that. I think let's move on to the next part. Thank you very much for sharing that and being part of that, Evident. Mr. Balaji, if you don't mind, can we take up your question in the next part together with that?
That's Mrs. Balaji, I think.
Tejashwini Balaji. Yes, Mrs. Balaji. Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear us? Okay, let's move on. So, Amalji, now can you help us understand one of the very great achievements, what you did, and what we wanted to also look at is your establishment of the Institute for Hormone and Fertility Research, which is something it's not happens just in a year or two or something like that. It needs a lot of efforts from all sides, stakeholders, and also pertinent funding. And today being established at that level, what was the core of the idea, and what was that if really challenges that's been going on, what you would like to also something that you learned for yourself as a lesson when you want to establish something today? What are the things you would look at it in a different way?
Okay, there I'll do a little breakup between two parts. First of all, when I came here as a German academic exchange fellow, I worked at the university hospital, the department of gynecology, because I had brought my project with me. And then when I reached here, I found the professor with whom I wanted to do the project has left Hamburg. So I was in the midway, Trishanku situation, because I was there, but my professor was not there. So with whom do I work now? Luckily, Professor Bettendorf and Professor Leidenberger, these two of them, with them I discussed what was happening at that time. Then I changed my project, made a new project, worked here, 75 to 78. Then it was mandatory that I go back to Benares and do my service there as a professor. That was important, and I had gone back with Ashish with me and my wife. We three left back. But while I was here in Hamburg, we were all the time talking together with Professor Leidenberger, and he had this idea, the concept, why not we set up a research institute from a private funding, and whether I will be ready to take care of the research projects and build it up. But at that time, he was still a university professor, a Beamte for life. Somebody, his job was absolutely secure here. And so the question of him leaving that university, that secure job, and joining me to set up the institute was still a big question mark. But we kept on talking. I went back to India. Then in 82, finally I decided I will come and set up. And he said he's leaving the university. So we both together, he set up his clinical practice, a big practice, private practice. And my job was to set up the institute. And of course, Professor Leidenberger is the third person, and I named Professor John Barnabas, Professor D.P. Verma, and Professor Leidenberger, who has played a very important role in molding my career, my profession. And with Professor Leidenberger in Germany, till today, I'm in touch with him. He's just like my mentor, my guru, and my partner. So he has been really the phenomenal support to me. And yes, we started with 3 or 4 people. Finally, we created the institute of 100 people working there. And this institute became an institute attached with the University of Hamburg. So this institute at the University of Hamburg. So we had the complete academic freedom, as well as we were doing our research. And the whole thing, how it is to be funded, the idea was, at that time, nobody said the word outsourcing. in 82, the word outsourcing was not known. But we knew at that time the pharmaceutical companies cannot do their research on their own. They will need somebody to carry out their projects, to do their research. And we agreed, we said that we will set up a research base, a laboratory base, where the pharmaceutical companies can come, give us funding, and we carry out their research. So that's the economy. That's how it started running. And from the institute, several companies were created. One of the company, which is still existing with 3,000 workers now, is Evotech. Evotech started in our basement, the institute's basement at Grantwick, with 3 rooms. Soon they expanded to made a container, and then from container they moved to Schnackenberger Alley. So we've been very proud that so many jobs were created by generating so many companies, and of course, it's not only the jobs, the innovations came out of it. So that went on till 2000, and then I moved out. I set up my own startup company called Age Lab Pharmaceutical GmbH, and there we were focused on looking at the skin, because I realized that we need to do research on skin, not only for melanoma and other cancers, but also the aging problem. When do you see a man aged? You see first on the skin. A man or a woman ages at the skin. So we wanted to start to work on that. But of course, it went on very well. But at a time came when there was a big problem with the investment climate in Germany. So we had to then hand it over, close down the company and hand it over to our venture capital people. From that, I went to make the ELGA Biotech, with which I am presently connected. But what was interesting at the institute, being at the institute at that time, my focus was to cooperation with India. We had at least 3 to 4 Indian students who came over from India to work at Hamburg. One person, he went back, became professor and head of the department at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. The other one went to Canada to become a well-known scientist. And the other lady, she married and then went to England. So we had already the Indian scholars coming over, and we had cooperations with Indians on research basis. So from that institute time, my focus has been somehow to promote science in India. So in a very short nutshell, I've told you now.
That's what I think. It has been decades of work. I mean, due to lack of time, obviously, you try to really summarize in such a way. For lack of time, I think 2 things I would like to also spend in the last, let's say, 30 minutes, which I feel it's very, very important. We have spoke a lot about science personally, and because it was important, because we want to know the scientist face and scientist hat, because that has been something you have been live, and everybody, even today, looks at you, though having other hats, but scientist has been your primary strength and where you come from. That's going to be always with you as scientist. But this Hanseatic India Colloquium and India Week, because these 3 things what you spoke about, science, and then about service and about society. And I think in this last 2 things, which I would like to speak, probably focus is much on society and service a lot. And why did this Hanseatic Scientific Colloquium was, first of all, important, and how it came about through to India Week, or it started earlier, this platform, and why it is so crucial, because there is quite a bit of things happening, or at that point of time, that's not there? What you wanted to convey through this?
Yeah, actually, I tell this very, very, very relevant point, actually. In early 2000, I was looking around, are there platforms in India which brings Indians and Germans together? One platform which attracted my attention was the inder.net. This was something which I was always looking at, created by Dr. Bijoy Chatterjee
Yeah.
and Tamal Ganguly, and they are still running it. And that was something which made me think that here is an information platform where Indians and the Germans can get information about India. This was mostly social, political, economic context. I wanted to have something for science. Can I have a platform where Indian scientists, German scientists can work together, come together without any business interest? And maybe their interaction can produce innovative ideas. So I tell you the small story. I had organized a talk by a renowned person, one Mr. Desai. He was part of the team of Manmohan Singh when he was finance minister and India was opening up. Mr. Desai was visiting Berlin, so I invited him to give a talk on Indian economy and business at the Embassy of India in Berlin. This was organized, and Mr. Stefan Matz, he was at that time with the Hamburgische Gesellschaft für Wirtschaftsförderung, that's the Hamburg's Society for Economic Promotion, I think we can say. So Mr. Matz was in Berlin to see the World Cup match. The World Cup was happening in 2006. So he came, he said, I'm in Berlin, so I'll come to attend the lecture. He came to attend the lecture. He saw from this lecture how much economy in India is going to open up, what opportunities is giving. He came back, I also came back from Berlin, and he was very keen and interested. We should do something together to have a bilateral Hamburg, a state of Germany, with India. So this is the first idea came between one state of federal state of Germany to do a bilateral business and economic meeting with India. Of course, I said, for me, the pure business economy doesn't make sense. I need science in this. So he said, okay, you do your way. And I remember 28th of August, 28/8/2006, we had a meeting at the Consulate General of India, Raboisen 6, at that time it was. There, it was Mr. Deepak Ray, he was the Consul General, and he was the host and chair. We had a meeting regarding organization of a colloquium entitled Healthcare and Biotech Sector, Emerging Opportunities in Indo-German Cooperation. And who attended that conference, that meeting? Professor Cornelius Herstadt, Dr. Stefan Buse, Rajnish Tiwari, myself, and our secretary, Stegemann. And there we had a get together. We decided that we will have the first Hanseatic India colloquium, and Dr. Buse kindly agreed to provide an auditorium to hold the conference. And that's where we started in November. This meeting at the consulate was in August, and in November, we did our first Hanseatic India colloquium, where we had Indian professionals, even the owner and CEO of Hanseatic Biotech, which is now making vaccines in India. He himself was here to talk about the Indian biotechnology sector. And from that, after that, next year, when we wanted to plan, then I remember that Rudolf Weiler, who was at that time chairman of German-India Roundtable, and also CEO of DG Sound, a company. That I myself, he, and I think Dr. Buse, we three went to Stefan Matz's office and discussed about holding an India week, whether we could convert this Hanseatic India, whatever we have done, a colloquium for 1 day, can it be converted to 7 days? And of course, then GIRT took over and Senate took over, and everything was discussed there, and India Week was born after that. And of course, German India Roundtable continued later on under the leadership of Rajneesh. He has taken over, and of course, the India Week is continuing successfully, and Hanseatic India Colloquium has been a part of the India Week throughout, and we have been, now we'll be doing the 11th Hanseatic India Colloquium here. Most of the Hanseatic India Colloquium has been organized in Hamburg, but once it was organized in Bombay. Why? Because Olaf Scholz took a delegation from India, from Germany to India. And it was his keen interest that the Hanseatic India Colloquium, which is really the bridge in business and innovation and science between India and Hamburg, should be organized in Bombay. And I remember in the flight from Delhi to Bombay, he was practicing my name, how to pronounce my name, because he had the onerous duty there to call me by name and tell that I am the organizer. So he was practicing throughout the flight to be able to speak the name correctly. But finally he made it. So we had a very good time in Bombay with the colloquium. We had done a colloquium also later on in Delhi. And I am happy now that Dr. Bijon Chatterjee is also helping, and Dr. Agarwal. They are both got interested in this, and they want to support me and help me to continue the Hanseatic India Colloquium here. This will be the 11th. Next year we'll have the 12th.
So at some point of time, 15 years celebration will also happen, maybe in India and in Germany. Why not? Maybe Mr. Olaf Scholz would be then Chancellor, or maybe then it would be something also good.
Yes.
So just because incidentally also Rajneesh Pai is here, Bai, can you tell anything on that, add on to it, anything that's interesting out of that during the birth of it, because you have been also part of it. Do you recollect something?
Paula, thank you very much for asking this. And I think the most interesting things Amalji has already talked about. It has been a pleasure for me to get to know him and Gauriji. So we have known each other, I think, since 2006, probably, because that was the time when I joined the German Indian Roundtable. And then this idea was born to hold a Hanseatic India Colloquium. And what I remember is that Dr. Mukhopadhyay had such an energy at that time in holding this event, which was being organized for the first time. And we were doing it also from the TUHH for the first time, organizing a bilateral Indo-German event. So a lot of work was required, lots of organizational things had to be managed. And it was sheer pleasure, lots of hard work to see the sort of people he got from India. And he always had what I call is frugality, that this frugality approach. What I learned from Dr. Mukhopadhyay is how to coordinate things. So like we were always, also like I've been involved in some ways with the India Week and with that also with the Hanseatic India Colloquium, and I'm a member of the Hanseatic India Forum. How much careful planning has gone into even setting the dates. He knows like when people can travel to Europe, they can make use of that time, they can attend something else. So we have always tried to organize our things which would enable people to join also other events, so that they are not coming to us spending useful resources and their valuable time just for a single event. So this is what I have learned from him, to make use of synergies, to directly go looking for synergies, make use of them, and then promote the bilateral work. And I find it very fascinating, the work which has been done by Dr. Mukhopadhyay, if I may say so, because I've been accompanying you in some ways, and not very intensely maybe, but like maybe I can do a bit more. But it has been a very fascinating work to see this confluence of we have sciences, we have economics, we have business, and we have society. So this confluence of these four different stakeholders is what fascinates me. And again, if I might add to this aspect of frugality, it's like how to make use of the limited resources that we have.
Yes.
For a very, very wonderful purpose in a wonderful way. So he has so many connections. He has always been able to get us best locations where we did not have as the Hanseatic India Forum to spend lots of resources, but very representative, very beautiful locations, getting the best of the people who can come and share their ideas with us. So yes, thank you very much, Amalji. And this has been such an interesting talk. So many things that I also did not know about your days in Pune and about the service that you are doing in Banaras. We would need to talk about it. These are fascinating things. Thank you, Bala, for
Thank you, Baiji. Thanks a lot. Wonderful. Amalji, obviously, I think, please go ahead, sir.
There is a hand, somebody's hand is up. Vivek.
Yes, Mr. Baduri, would you like to ask something or share something?
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I actually have a small question, which I feel personally no one could be better than answering him personally. So I have my own company now, which is called Brandfinity. So we deal with branding and communication, and I was hearing about you. You know, how was your journey from India to Germany and how you collaborate and everything. Now, so as we work with various brands in India and abroad also right now, so you know, what I'm observing is that even if it is an Indian brand or if it's a brand which is you know, abroad, they're thinking the process, everything has changed post-COVID. So, you know, transitions you have seen in your whole, you know, journey, professional journey. You know, these, what, like, if I have to put it in one sentence, like, what do you see? What will be the future of the market in terms of brand development, in terms of brand focus, whether it's a internationals or whether it is inside a country post-COVID scenario. So imagine the corona or the COVID ends, but I personally, you know, since I interact with many clients of mine, I see that the mindsets have changed. They want to think different. The technologies have come up so much. So according to you, should be the best practice. And the second question is that how do you see the whole transition in the post-COVID?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Baduri. Please.
It's a long question and the answer can be very long, but I'll just say in a short way, I think whatever brand we are talking about, no brand will survive unless this also has an image of ethics associated with a brand. We have seen how climate is causing damage to many German cities, how people's lives were lost in a most modern civil society, and of course, COVID. So I think any brand, any company, any business must have an image of ethics associated with it. And that's it. That is what I think is going to be in future. Is that the answer?
Yeah, thank you, Amalji, because it touched upon a little bit on the direction. Maybe Rajesh Bhaiji, maybe you can also give something, because it was your Indo-German and other things as well, because also with the GIT and many things you are involved with. Do you have any pertinent point you want to give to that question?
I think Amalji has really pointed out the most important aspects, and I don't think I would like.
Okay, fine. Thanks a lot for that. Okay, let's come to the final 15 minutes. I think I would like to focus on the third part.
Yeah.
This is mostly the service part,
Yes.
which I would say, which is one of the very crucial things, which I personally have been also had the very good opportunity to interact with Amalji on that, and also on a special project on waste management and all those things. He has been working a lot on solar. For example, for many people who do not know, he has been working, one of the very pioneers, I would say, who has been pushing the solar things, which has been quite long. So, Hanseatic India Forum, Eingetragener Verein. So, what's the concept about it? How did you come to that? And what's actually happening? And what's your future roadmap for that?
Yeah, I'll try to be brief again, because I tend to float away a bit in topics in which I'm very interested in. The idea was born out of discussion with friends like Mr. Dieter Gutzmacher and Mr. Stegemann. When we were doing our Hanseatic India colloquium in 2006, we were talking about why not create a group with friends who are either of Indian origin, living here in Hamburg, or Germans who are interested in India. So we thought that we need an association. We have to have these people together so that we can synergize the energy of these professionals into doing something meaningful for both India and Germany. So Hanseatic India Forum was born as a registered charity organization in 2009. It focused on cultural activities, doing every year functions which were relevant to India. Like we had Andreas Prove. This gentleman, he went all around the world on motorcycle, but he met with an accident. He was a cripple. He was on a wheelchair, and he went corner to corner in India on his wheelchair, and he wrote a book and stories. So we had his presentation in one of the Metropolis Kino. We had Ralph Tillman, and so on. This was cultural activity was going on to bring India to our German friends, to Europe. But at the same time, we decided that we should do activity which will help Indians in India. And for that, we decided to go to India first, look at different organizations, because you can't work with India without a local partner. And the local partner, what you need in India, has to be reliable, has to deliver. So I went myself down to India, went to an area. I said, if I am working in the village, then the villagers should understand my language. Otherwise, how do I communicate? So therefore, at first, since I had taken up the initiative, I went to Bengal and Sundarban. And in Sundarban, I was looking for an organization who can really be a partner. And I talked with few organizations like Mukti and with Sabuj Shango, because these organizations had done very great service during the cyclone called Ayla. Ayla cyclone had devastated Sundarban area, and the Sundarban, as you know, is full of a lot of islands. At that time, they were not all connected. You can go from one island to another island only by boat. And the river was full of crocodile. Of course, Royal Bengal tiger, I did not see any, but crocodiles could be seen. So I went there and met with these people, went from island to island, looked at what they needed. At that time, the problem was communication and electricity. To go from one island to another island, you need a boat. So the patients cannot just travel from one place to another. So Sobuj Sangho had created a big hospital in the main island and other community centers in other islands. But many of these were not getting regular electricity. So the solution was to set up solar-powered medical centers, which will help patient care at night when there is no light available. Especially the delivery situation was very bad. Pregnant mothers would come to the hospital, and as you know, most of the delivery may happen at night. And at night, if they don't have electricity, then a normal delivery can happen. But if there's a little complication, then either the mother will die, or the child will die, or both will die, if the doctors can't see what they're doing. So therefore, I thought that the solar-powered health center is important to provide light at night and also to provide a solar-powered refrigerator, so that in those refrigerators, they can keep the life-saving medicines, which normally would be destroyed at high temperature, but you need them like, snake bite, anti-snake bite, anti-rabies, anti-RH factor. So all those medicines could be kept. And a company in Wedel agreed us to make such kind of equipment. 3 solar-powered health centers were made by them. And this we could then transfer to India. And for that, we received generous grants, about 25,000 euro. Out of that, one was like a diaspora coming to help us, like Priyaranjan Herring Das. He was working with Daimler, and Daimler had a project where every employee who gets money, salary, let us say 1,239 cents. That 39 cents, if they don't take, then that goes into their pot. And the equal amount goes from Daimler company also into that pot. So they generate a fund with which they do charity work. And you can imagine so many thousands of people work for Daimler, and each one gives some cents every month. That also adds up to a good amount from that. And if somebody who's working with Daimler, Mercedes, can only propose a project and get the money. So they propose this project. He's a diaspora. So any other diaspora who is working in a company like Continental or any other German companies, each company will have such kind of projects. So we'll be very happy if we get help from any one of them.
Thank you.
Funding.
Yeah.
So that was the solar project. And once we went through that, then the next question came when we were visiting the Sundarban area. We found that the women there, they don't have local jobs. They are sent out either to city to work as cook or cleaning the house, and sometimes they are trafficked. It was a very poor situation. There's no job for the women except working in the field, for which they never got any remuneration. So we were looking around how we can skill these women so that they start earning. So women empowerment, women skilling, and they are earning. For that, we've raised fund in Germany, created a bakery, which we call it Sundarban German Bakery, a bakery right in the village, run by the women's cooperative. So it's managed by women. Women work in that bakery to do the baking, make the bread. and other women take the bread to the shops on bicycle. All of them are earning money then locally, and the bakery has become self-sufficient by their own product which they are selling. And we are trying to use that bakery as an economic center to create more economic centers around it using women, local women. That means we will fund some women to open a shop who will sell the bread and biscuits and things like that. So she gets her own shop. So that's our future plan. But right now the bakery is working wonderfully. And those women who are taking the bread from the bakery to the shop, they are not paid by the bakery, but they get a bread, let us say 4 rupees bread, 5 rupees bread, they will get it 4 rupees. But they will sell it to the shop at 5 rupees. So they keep 1 rupee. So if they can sell 100 bread in a day, they have 100 rupees per day income. So like 3,000 at the end. But it does not cost the bakery anything. But there are about 20 women who are supplying this, and they are making money. Actually, we have a video on that, but I think we don't have time right now to see that. Can you hear me?
How long is the video, sir?
It could be 4 or 5 minutes.
Maybe you can try.
Yeah.
I'll give you the connect. Yeah, now you are given the right to show your screen, so you can share your screen.
Okay, let me see. It says allow system preferences. Open. Let me see if the system, yeah. I am not very sure now. Where is the, yeah, okay. Can you see the screen?
No.
Can you see?
No.
No. I can see, it's not shared then. Do you hear?
We hear it, but we don't see it. So you need to share actually.
Was started 3 years back.
Okay, just a second. I can see it, but how do I? Maybe the system preference is causing a problem. Settings.
Or otherwise you just copy in the chat link. So we will see whether we can do that.
You can. Maybe you can hear it. Oh, no, you can't see it.
No, we cannot.
German bakery was started 3 years.
No, maybe you can copy the link of the YouTube and please put it in the chat. So we will try to see if we can do that.
All right.
The founder and director of Hanseatic India Forum.
Now I am unable.
Is this video on YouTube also, or can it be shared on YouTube?
Yeah, it's YouTube.
Yeah, then maybe you can share the link and then
exactly. You can put it in the chat. Yeah.
Okay, let me see that. I need this. Oh, no, this was.
Oh, well, you tell me the name. I can try to search it on YouTube for you, and then if needed, I can share my screen maybe.
Balaji has a copy of that.
No, it's in the WhatsApp, so
yeah.
I don't have it there. But can you tell the name of the title of the YouTube video?
Okay, let me see. I've sent it to Balaji, so I should have it here. I can send the copy. Link. Yeah. So this is copy. Okay. It's taking too much time. I think we will, how do I do it in the chat?
No, just Amalji, please tell the title of the video so Rajneesh Bhai can search that and he can try with his screen. Can you tell the name of the video or something where he can search?
Sundarban German Bakery.
Okay, Sundarban German Bakery.
I tried. Sundarban German Bakery, the new beginning.
Yeah.
About like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, then I can try it.
He is better technically. Glad that Rajneesh is there.
Let's see whether it really works.
If it works.
Not too soon, but hopefully it works. Let's see. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sundarban German Bakery. It is promoted by Shabush Chandra. This is a part of our livelihood program, and through this program we are employing and we are excelling some of the local women. And this is completely women-run and women-managed unit. Through this program, we want to ensure there is a livelihood options to prevent their unsafe migration, prevent the trafficking, and we want to bring back their the dignity. এটাই আমাদের মেইন কাজ সুন্দরবন জার্মান বেকারি, যেখানে জার্মান টেকনোলজি জার্মানের মানুষজন এটাতে করেছে এবং তার মাধ্যম দিয়ে মহিলাদের সামগ্রিক উন্নয়নের ক্ষেত্রে মহিলাদের দ্বারা পরিচালিত মহিলাদের তৈরি এই প্রোডাক্টের মাধ্যম দিয়ে এলাকার সার্বিক উন্নয়নের এখনো পর্যন্ত প্রায় 50 জনেরও বেশি মহিলারা এই লাইফের সাথে যুক্ত।
This is not the one actually.
Sorry, Rajneesh Bhai, can you please stop?
So just a second. So that's not the one?
Not the one.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Don't worry.
Exactly. For the lack of time, I think probably we can try to find out.
Yeah.
So I had a question from Urmi Barkataki. So maybe please go ahead.
Yeah.
Very good evening, sir. Such a pleasure to have hear about your story. So my question is regarding biotechnology and how the situation, the face of biotechnology in our own country, India. So in the face of coronavirus, that what we have seen in past almost 2 years, it has begun this whole vision towards the existence of this very science, which has sort of, for me at least, took a different phase. A lot of us, I used to be a biotechnology student, a lot of us have lost our track from biotechnology for the condition of biotechnology in our country, for two aspects, for not giving a career perspective, and also research-wise, it is not as lucrative as we get to see in other parts of the world, for example, Germany. Is there any future left? That is a question. I mean, definitely there is. In one way, for having this bioengineered, the world of bioengineering, the genetic engineering, or the developed science in that field, it is there. But how do we, as a Indian students, or the one who have drifted, can see hope in the future of biotechnology in India? Is your Hanseatic Association has taken an initiative in promoting the talents in biotechnology in India? Because a lot of us have drifted.
I think could you just shorten it so that Amalji has then respond to it? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Amalji, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think the question that you are asking is that is particularly for the young talents. Is there a future to work? I think at least I know that in German universities, there are many scopes for really good, talented Indian students to come over to carry out research work. And the biotechnology funding in Germany has been one of the biggest last year. So there is a lot of funding, a lot of opportunities here too to work with. So please, in that case, connect to either directly to the professors whose publications you see anyway in PubMed and in other journals, or connect to German Academic Exchange office in Delhi. I think it's in Golf Links, and they have a homepage. Even Humboldt fellowships are there. So, and there is an Indo-German Center for Science and Technology in Gurugram. There are a lot of research projects being promoted by them. And this is...
Right. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Amal ji, for that. So I think with looking at the time, it's 8 p.m. already. So I think we are at the end of the program. And I really overwhelmed with the amount of information, especially even people like Rajesh Pai, who has been knowing Amalji for a long time. When he says there are something he doesn't know and something very new, and he would like to discuss with him in length, that shows also there is still a treasure of things that we need to know from Amalji, who has been spending for various things for over many decades. And certainly I am also looking forward to meet him at some point of time after this whole corona and all those things, though we are all optimistic at some point of time it is over and then we can all meet. Thank you very much, Amalji, for a very enlightening evening today, and especially hats off to your noble service, which has been, even at that young age when you are at the university, you inculcated into the selfless service of serving the needy and also taking care of doing the last rites for those departed soul. I think that something is really touching everyone. And so stay blessed with all the prayers, stay safe. And we are all really very blessed also to be in the midst of you in this society, living during your times. And so I think we can at least try to take few things, at least a percentage of what you have been done over the many decades, and still maintaining your humility and also modesty all over through these achievements. I think that's something, especially for the youngest lots and the generation of the X and M, or whatever one can say. I think that is the bottom line, that humility and modesty, doesn't matter how and where you climb and how far you climb over it. With these few words, I would like to give to Consul General Sir. Sir, please, your closing words, and then a few words from Amalji as the final closing point. Consul General Sir, please.
Thank you again, Bala. And it has really been an interesting and fascinating evening. Thank you very much, Dr. Amal Mukhopadhyay, for agreeing to this talk. And it has been really interesting learning about how you came to be where you are. And I'm especially impressed that apart from being a great scientist and entrepreneur and doing a lot of good things, you are also a great philanthropist. So not everybody has, like Bala said, who can wear so many hats, but it's good to be in your presence and to learn from you. And I hope, like Bala said, a lot of the younger people among us, the audience, can also learn from you. We also have this on YouTube, and I hope it will be there for permanently. So I think we can ask others also to watch this program later on, especially people who are not live with us today. So thank you again, Dr. Amal Mukhopadhyay, for being on this program. And thank you, Bala. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. And yes, Amalji, your final few words, so that with that we can close the event.
I have absolutely enjoyed being here with you all. Such enlightened questions and discussions. Thank you so much dear Sir, Consul General, Mr. Rangal, and of course, Balaji, thank you so much. Rajneesh has been all the time making the discussion interesting. And I thank all the discussions and those who have asked questions. Thank them to make it all so lively. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a
Thank you,
lot.
Amal ji.
And
Yes, thank you very
wish you
much.
all a very, very good evening. Please stay safe. Pandemic is not over. So
Yes.
we have to live with it, but we know, but still, please still safe. And looking forward
Thank
to
you
meet
very
you
much.
in the Wednesday dialogue series upcoming in August. Thank you. All the best.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you again. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.